Good evening. Welcome to the Late Late Show with me, Irish Tommy. And as always, I have a guest with me. And this week, you all know him. Needs no introduction. It's Luke. How are you, mate?
I'm good, mate. How are you?
Good. I've just realised I've really got to get onto Anton or Russ or someone change that intro. It's got Moyes on there and Europe and everything like that. And we've got neither at the moment. So
He still finds a way to be about, doesn't he?
yeah, he's got to pull his finger out and get me a new intro video.
That's good. He's
Yeah.
updated.
Yeah. So obviously it's the first time we've spoken in the J-Lo era. Well, still early doors, but I suppose just because I haven't really gotten your thoughts on any of it, really. What were your thoughts when it was confirmed or became obvious that it was going to be Lopetegui? There was a mixed reaction, I think, to his appointment. Some fans were quite happy to see him come in. Others were maybe not so enthralled with him. How did you feel about it, and has that changed since his appointment?
At first, I was just happy to see the back of Moyes in the most respectful way possible, because while I was completely exasperated, frustrated, you name it, all those words, about his, him carrying on as manager. He did achieve a lot for us while he was manager, and but it got to the point where I wasn't enjoying the games anymore. Football, I was not enjoying the thought of watching West Ham anymore, which is a ridiculous thing to think as a fan of your own club. So when he left, it was like a weight off my shoulders, and I was just enjoying it. And to an extent, I really didn't care who was hired, because I thought that it got to the point where no one could be as bad as it got at West Ham, because it sort of felt like we knew it was coming to an end about so many games before the season finished, and it was like, right, whoever's coming in can't really do any worse, because it was the whole. It wasn't just where we were finishing and what we were achieved. It was what was going to happen in the future. The lack of players at the club. Should have been an uphill battle, so I wasn't going to jump on anyone's backs. And I think when we was linked with Amorim, I was like, wow, this is a good sign. This is we're really sort of making a statement here. And it wasn't anything to do. I didn't believe it was anything to do with Sullivan. It was more of a Steidman pick. That would be the kind of guy that Steidman would go out and get. A bloke of that ilk, upcoming, young, etc., etc. When Lopetegui was linked, I think I was on E20. I think I went on his channel for a bit, and he said I can't disagree with, which is it's a classic Sullivan pick. It's a guy that's out of work. He's free. He wants a job. Gives a job. And basically the position that Moyes was in when he come back to us. So, didn't have to pay any compensation money. It was just like, right, let's get him in. So it was underwhelming. It was a classic Sullivan pick. It kind of ticked a few boxes, but it was very like, oh, him. But you sort of find yourself in a position where you can't really moan about it, because if we're that desperate to get rid of Moyes, and at some point, like I was saying, anyone could do any better, can't really just go, yeah, but not him, because it doesn't. Your argument's sort of a bit flawed. So for me, I was like, just as I did with Moyes, because I kind of thought Moyes was the same thing when he come back. He was like, oh, it's cheap option, he's available, and blah 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 this, blah blah, blah that. So I'll give him a chance, and I'm still giving him a chance now. It was underwhelming, but I've been encouraged by what I've seen. His attitude and his mentality. Players wise, etc. I think that he's been given backed. That's a major thing, I think, for us and the new manager. So underwhelmed at the time, but willing to give him a chance, and I'm still in that position right now.
Yeah, I think much the same as that. A little underwhelmed with the appointment, but to be fair, he speaks well in interviews. I did like the way he was speaking in the interviews. It gave me some hope that maybe I'd misjudged him. So, like you, I'll give him a fair crack of the whip, as I would with any manager, and hope that he'll be very successful. And like you, I just hope the football becomes much more watchable. Frankly, it was hard to watch David Moyes football. It really was, and regardless of the results. It was just hard to watch, and it became. I just desperately needed him out the club, and thankfully now he is gone, and we can move on into the J-Lo era. It was an inauspicious start against Villa at home last week. I think a lot of fans was really disappointed with the starting 11. I mean, there were two debutants of all the players we had signed. There were two debutants, and I think it would have been one had Alvarez been fit and available for selection. I think the only reason Rodriguez played is because he wasn't. I doubt he wanted to play Rodriguez in that game. So I was a bit disappointed with that. The reason being, I didn't think it was necessary. I could forgive not starting Todibo. You know, he was just in the door and he's never played in the Premier League. Hadn't done any training with the team. But the rest, I felt like Füllkrug had been there long enough. He'd done enough training with the team since they got back from the US that he could have played. Wan-Bissaka, highly experienced in the Premier League. I just don't see why you would need to hold him back. He'd had a full pre-season with United. He was on the bench, so clearly he could play. So with certain players, I don't buy that, you know, they didn't have enough time training with the team and in the system. Wan-Bissaka is a right back. He knows his job. It wouldn't take much of a conversation, probably one conversation between him and Lopetegui, just for Lopetegui to get across how he wants him to play in that game against his direct opponent or whatever, and what he wants to do on and off the ball. He's a smart lad and he's been around long enough. I see no reason Wan-Bissaka could not have played. Equally with Somerville, actually. Somerville was signed before they got back from the US. He's probably been training with the team as long as Bowen has, who's obviously been on an extended break. He's played a Premier League season, played in the Championship last season. He knows what Premier League's about, what English football's about. Somerville, for me, could have played. So I was very surprised. I thought it was overly cautious of him to hold so many players back. What did you think of that decision?
To be honest with you, on the level I understood it, I was before the game. I mean, like days before the game, I was kind of looking forward to, you know, a brand new system at West Ham, brand new personnel, etc. And then the closer it got to the game, and I mean like an hour before the game started, the more I thought about it, I was like, I can see him starting a lot of last season's players. Mainly because there's been such. I mean, when you think about it, there was a gap in the transfer window where we were kind of going, right, we signed a couple now, where's the rest? Because we were being linked with players as well. It was like it all went quiet, which weren't getting you through the door. And it's suddenly bang, 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 within 2 weeks, or what, a week and a half and whatever, we got a load more in. And there was like an influx. And the more I thought about it, I think it'd be a little bit naive for me to think that they're all going to start. And I think, in my opinion, he was giving him a chance last week. I think he thought that, you know, this team has played in Europe for 3 years, etc., won a trophy, whatever. If they want to play, you can have your pre-season games, but for me that means absolutely nothing. It's just pure fitness and experimentation, right? And if he's saying to him, right, you've all been here, you know, you played under one system, under a manager for 5 years, basically playing the same way. Here's your chance now to prove that you can play my way. And if you do well, I'll consider keeping you in the team, etc. Because I think to pump a load of new players in straight away and expect them all to click, the professional footballers in the day, they can adapt. They should be able to adapt. I'm no doubt about that. I'm not denying that. But to go, right, you're all in, this is the new team, bang, off you go out, win the game, is maybe a little bit naive, just from my perspective of how I was thinking about it, because I was convincing myself that you know, it was the right thing to do. And I'll be honest with you.
But there is an argument to be made for chucking them in. I mean, at the end of the day, they're all going to have to play together. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, if these are the players that are going to be playing together, these players were brought in to improve the first team, which I think they will.
Yeah.
We lost the game anyway. So I think, you know, just put them in and say, look, Wan-Bissaka's not going to need much bedding in. I don't think Somerville's going to need much bedding in.
The only thing
he doesn't.
The only thing I would say is the fact that, you know, I can understand why you started so many other players, and this is what I keep trying to say to I've said for a number of almost like a year as well, is that if you put a manager in who plays a system that benefits the players rather than just one manager going, right, you're all playing my way whether you like it or not, get on with it, then you might see a better team the way they play. Like if you put these players in a position where, I don't know, Ward-Prowse playing more technical ability rather than just doing what Moyes asked him to do. You know, you play Souček in a way that works for him when he first turned up at West Ham, rather than, you know, trying to make him play technical football. So you might see a better team. As it goes from the first whistle, I think we had David Moyes' muscle memory. I think that, I don't know what he said before the game. None of us are obviously going to know. You know, only they know in the changing rooms. But it kind of looked like one of them guys where the manager sort of, he's on the touchline, he's gone, I've just spent the last hour telling you what you got to do, and then within the first 30 seconds he's gone out the window. And we also conceded from a corner straight away. So I think that these guys have been playing for the last 5 years in a certain way. It's been around about successful because we've been in Europe for 3 years and all the stuff in the league by not getting relegated, etc. That they're probably thinking, well, it's worked for us for 5 years, and, you know, it's not. I'm not saying that they're not willing to change. I'm saying it's a psychological thing. Is that they're so used to, once the game kicks off, our job is not to play with the ball. They're suddenly going, right, now we've got to play with the ball. No matter how much you train a team to be like that, sometimes it takes time. Now, on the other hand of it,
you also need players who can actually do what you need them to do.
That could be J.O.'s fault by not playing the players that he's brought in to play that way. Because if you are going to play players that have been playing a certain way for 5 years, and they're only going to play a certain way because they're so used to it, then, and you haven't changed it, then you can't expect to play any different. So for me, for the first 35 minutes, until they got a penalty and we got a boost, we seemed like the old West Ham. And it wasn't any different. And it was a number of long balls. In the end, you could just tell that our only outlet attacking-wise was Kudus. So we had to do all the work again. So it was like another Moyes game. I am I was very underwhelmed. I saw it like another Moyes game with, in the second half, they are kind of allowing you to attack more, because they know that if they can break you on the counter attack, which they basically did. It was another game. It was like the same thing. It was like there's a different manager in the dugout, but it's the same kind of game, same kind of system, same kind of everything else. So I said prior to the game, I was asked by people that I know, do you think you'll win today? And my response was, I'm not actually that bothered about the result. And that sounds a bit strange to say that, right? What I was kind of aiming for is Aston Villa at home. It's not. No game in the Premier League is easy, but I just want to see something different. I want to see there is something that's changing. There is a system, and to be honest with you, I think taking Bowen and Paqueta off took balls. And I know some people might not agree with that, so it's a bit like deluded. But if you're taking your newly appointed captain off and the bloke that was basically overly relied upon last year to get us wins, because we didn't win a game without him, and bring other players on, then for me that's bold. And I respected that out of him. I know it didn't work, and it was in the end, it turned out to be the wrong decision and whatever. But I thought, you know what, fair play. Takes a lot, because I'm very, at the minute, I'm open-minded. I'm going to be open-minded for a little while. I'm going to take it on the chin. I'm going to reserve judgment for a little while, because I loved Moyes at the start. I thought it was brilliant manager, the way he managed just over the last few years. It got to the point where I couldn't stand him. So I can't say much on that front. I just think that once we get the new players in, I think that what I'm saying is the last game was the last chance to learn. I think he's seen what he needs to see now. And now we've had a week. They've all been training together now. And I think tomorrow you're going to see a change in the lineup and a change in the system. I'm not any more hopeful of a result, because Palace are a decent team. They've lost to Leicester, which is fair enough, but they're still a decent team. They're going to want to win because they lost against Brentford in the first game. So they're going to want to win just as much as we are. They're at home. It's going to be a difficult game. But I'm confident that we're going to play better, because I didn't think we played that well against. We technically, stats-wise, had ball position, which I don't think that tells the whole story, but it does maybe say that you know, Aston Villa let us play more, because they knew that they had us tactically wrapped around their finger. So certain players probably could have
Yeah,
played.
I mean, yeah,
Play maybe.
yeah. Another thing was, apart from the disappointment with the lineup and the performance, I mean, the first 30 minutes we probably should have been 3-0 down.
Yeah.
I mean, they just absolutely carved us open at will.
It was just aside that I wrote an article. Admin's opinion. That's normally my article. And I mentioned that. Do you remember the Frankfurt semi-final first leg, the first season in Europe? It was a party atmosphere, and within the first minute we went 1-0 down. It was like a sucker punch. That reminded me that felt like exactly like that. It was like an Arna header from a corner, sucker punch. Oh dear, oh West Ham's back. Nothing has changed. I was like, this is typical. Anyway, sorry, I interrupted you. Carry on.
Yeah, that's always a gut punch, isn't it? When you concede early. And, I don't know if that contributed to our bad start. To the opening 30 minutes, I don't know if the players were kind of rocked a bit.
Probably.
Obviously, Villa had their tails up nice and early, and the amount of space they were getting, our defense was just backing off. I know at one point there, I remember something where we almost conceded, where Max Kilman was doing his best Roger Johnson impression, just running backwards. Yeah, it's just what it reminded me of when I saw it. I was like, oh Christ, please don't tell me this is what we've bought for 40. But no, to be fair to Kilman, he grew into the game. He had a good game.
He was brilliant for me, just as a side. He was brilliant. I thought he was tops.
Yeah, we got to grips with it in the second half a bit. But the other disappointing thing for me, one of the things I probably disliked the most about David Moyes was the square pegs and round holes. And I was hoping we'd seen the last of that. But then Kudus lined up on the left-hand side. Now, don't get me wrong, he's a quality player. He's still going to do some things out there that wow you, and you think, oh, taking on players, turning them, getting in behind and stuff like that. So he'll still look good because he's such a brilliant player. He'll still look good on the left. The problem is, for me, is that it's absolutely not his best position, because I think it almost completely removes any goal threat that he carries when he's out on the left. He put crosses in, and he played balls into the box, played square balls in around the edge of the box to teammates and stuff like that. But he never, ever looked like scoring because he's on the wrong side. And given that we don't exactly have a prolific forward who's going to score a hatful of goals, our goals are going to come primarily, you would think, this season from Bowen, Kudus, and whoever is at number 9. The bulk of our goals will come probably from those three, possibly a few from Somerville if he's playing regularly. So our goals will be kind of spread around a bit. We don't really have like that top class number 9 who's going to bang in, who's going to do like a Solanke last season, going to bang in 19, 20 goals. So I think to remove the goal threat that Kudus carries, I think is criminal. And I think it's a huge error on the part of Lopetegui. And I'll actually be really, really worried if I see Kudus on the left again tomorrow. I really will. He's got no business being out there. I thought when we signed Somerville, okay, we've sorted out the left side problem finally, because he actually does carry a threat down that left-hand side, a goal threat, Somerville. He loves to come in, get a shot off with his right foot. He's got a really good shot on him. He can cross too, play passes in the box. So he can do all of that from that side because that's what he does. Yeah. And I assume that's why we bought him. So that's my real worry now, with this square pegs and round holes. So we're going to have to sort out this midfield issue where we absolutely have to get Paqueta and Kudus playing centrally. We just have to. And I hope Lopetegui sees it that way, because if he spends the season playing Kudus on the left, I think it will.
I don't.
Sorry
to interrupt a little bit, but I think people are hooked too much on that line. It's the first game of the season. There's because you've seen it for the first time doesn't mean it's saying that's going to be the main. There's a reason why we signed these players. I think he's bedding them in. I honestly, in my opinion, I think it was just a needs must formation at that time. I'm not saying you can write off any game, but almost like write this one off because our season starts against Palace. In my opinion, it'll all change. I think what he's going to do, I posted on Twitter, I think, during the week or after the game. I think going forward, it will be Bowen on the right, Kudus playing just behind the forward as like a cam or centre forward ish, if you like, with the striker in front of him and Somerville on the left. I can't. I could be wrong. I could be completely wrong. But there's a reason why he signed Somerville, and he's not going to be a bench player. He will find a way to put Kudus. The trouble is, in all honesty, is we have got Kudus. I don't think is if any the football experts out there, the guys that know, could tell me different. But Kudus is naturally a right winger. He can cut in and do the rest of it, but he's a bone. We have two very, very good right wingers, and it's us having a very good headache, very nice headache, but it's trying to find a way to fit them both in, and it's not really working. And I think we all know, realistically, Bowen is much better out on the wing than he is centrally. So it's probably going to be Kudus will be played as an attacking midfielder, in my opinion. You then have Paqueta played, I kind of think where he plays for Brazil, which is more of a centre midfielder rather than an attacking midfielder. I think it's like a fluid kind of position. But basically, he'll just be getting the ball and he'll be just like throwing passes around. I'm not saying he won't be doing the skills and the tricks like he normally does, but he's a guy that likes to get in there and make a tackle. I didn't, but I will if you want me to. If you pay me money, I'll start playing. If you pay me to fight, I'll be fighting. Don't worry about that, mate. But yeah, if he loves a tackle, I know he loves the yellow card as well, but he loves a tackle. So I think he's naturally suited to that position as well. In my opinion, I could be wrong, but I think he's right. So I think come tomorrow, I'm not saying it will be totally different, but it'll be a lot. I think 75%. At least a different starting lineup, a different team, and we'll be playing a lot more the way that Lopetegui wants, rather than I think he has to. I think he was just trying to fit the old guard in and just go, look, that's it. These players have just signed. They've now had a week training together to sort out the nooks and crannies. So I don't think Antonio will start tomorrow. I think Falkirk will start. I think Todibo and Kilman will be the centre backs. Wan-Bissaka will be in because ironically he's against Palace as well, so it just makes sense. Paqueta and Rodriguez will be in the middle. Kudus in front of them. Some of you on the left, Bowen on the right. Falkirk up front. That's the way that's the way it will be.
Yeah, we'll see. I think that you're certainly speaking from hope.
Yeah.
I think for me,
believe me.
Yeah, the obvious thing would be, all right, look, let's get this thing going. They've all had training together now. That if you can't get your message across in that amount of time, then you never will. And the only way they're going to become fluid in that system is by playing together and getting used to it as quickly as possible. Because we've got Man City up after Palace, so you don't want to start the season with 3 losses. You really don't. It's not ideal.
Like that, you're fine. See nothing. It's just a free hit. It's fine.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, I'd like to see a kind of 4-3-3 tomorrow, ideally, personally. I'd say the back four, bring in Todibo and Wan-Bissaka. A little bit tough on Mav because I thought he was actually really good.
Yeah, he's a bit hit and miss with the fans. I think Mav. I think he's got something in him. I think he just needs. I don't know what he needs, but as far as I know, he's quite an attacking defender, and I'm not sure. Maybe this team is suited for him in that regard. He's a bit of a daydreamer, kind of thing. I think he does. He's a bit of a risk where losing the ball is concerned. But I think give the guy a chance. I think maybe not. Maybe he's not a definite starter for us unless we go to a 3 at the back. But I don't think his career is over at West Ham. I think people are writing him off too early. But that's just my opinion.
Oh yeah, I don't suspect he'd be sold. I think Lopetegui is quite happy to keep him around. Obviously, another thing I was really actually disappointed. I think we've lost Luke for a second. Don't know why. I'll wait for him to come back. Hopefully, he won't be gone long. So I'll just go into the chat. This is William. Would you like Solarian? Yes, I would. I think the thing with Soler is I think we actually need a player like that. The one kind of position we can't really cover is a bit of kind of flair and nous in midfield that Paqueta gives us. So if Paqueta were injured or suspended, or God forbid if the time comes in January or whenever, December, January, and he does get found guilty and suspended, we would need someone who could come in and take on that role. And Soler is the kind of player who can do that. So I think it's very important if we can get that deal done to try and get it done. Now, what I was seeing as well today, that Everton may have joined the race to sign him. Now, I don't know what position Everton are in to do that. If Everton are in a position to offer a full-time contract, or rather to buy him from PSG rather than a loan to buy, which is what obviously we would be looking for, I think, then that could scupper our plans. I really hope it doesn't happen. I'm really hopeful that Soler deal can get done, because that actually could be very important to us. George Earthy's been loaned out, so we don't have that kind of player in midfield that could just take over naturally from Paqueta if anything were to happen to him. So I'm crossing my fingers on that one. I'd love to get him. Look, I'd be lying if I said I knew much about him. I don't really watch La Liga, so I hadn't seen him play in Spain. And obviously he hasn't featured that much for PSG, so I haven't seen much of him in Champions League either. But I think we really need to get him in if possible, just in case Paqueta is not available at various points during the season, or if he gets suspended. He's the one player that we don't have that could come in and actually replace Paqueta. So thanks for the question, William. Thanks for coming back.
Sorry, mate, I just let something come up. Sorry, I had to just quickly deal with it.
No worries. Yeah, what is I was going to talk about the bench. I was actually really disappointed that there was no sign of Guilherme on the bench, to be honest. Despite the fact he's 18, we paid good money for him, and he's supposed to be a prodigious talent. And for that kind of money, he wasn't bought for the youth team. So for him not to be in the squad was a disappointment, because I didn't feel like we needed Antonio and Ings on the bench, personally, especially when if was for some bizarre reason, you didn't need Füllkrug, excuse me, and Ings. If I think Füllkrug would have been enough. If Antonio goes down, Füllkrug can come on. Even in the worst case scenario, where both of them somehow manage to get injured in the same game, you can always push Bowen up front, move Kudus across to the right, bring on Somerville. It's an easy fix. I'd like to see that tomorrow as well. In fact, outside of the starting 11, I want to see Guilherme on the bench. We've brought him in, so put him in the first team squad. If he doesn't get too many minutes this season, okay, fine. But it still would be a nice player to have on the bench, in my opinion, rather than having two strikers on the bench. What do you think?
I was a bit surprised, actually, but I was only surprised when someone pointed it out, because we've signed so many players, I kind of forgot we'd even signed him. He was right at the start.
He was in early doors, yeah.
Very early doors for West Ham, especially the last 5 years. So I did kind of forget he existed, I'll be honest. But at the same time, it would be nice to see that he's there, that he's being considered, that he's looking. But at the other end of it, I think people have looked at how much he's been signed for, and the fact he hasn't been loaned back to Palmeiras. So we got you from, yeah. Mm-hmm. And he's one for the future. I don't think he's. I know we've paid 30 million for him, but people have got to realise that Barcelona and Real Madrid do this thing all the time. They pay good money for a young player, and they buy them for the future. If they're good enough, they come straight in. He's been working with him through pre-season, and I'm always one to say that you might not be the best player in training, but you can offer something during the game. It can work the other way as well. You can be the best player in training and not be very good in match day. He's probably looked at him and probably thought, maybe not right now, maybe a couple of games time. But like I said, and I refer back to what I said earlier, is that I think that the first game is a bedding in period. You've got like the players, Danny Ings come on, and I'll be honest with you, but given the fact that Moyes used to put 2 goalkeepers on the bench, I was happy that there was 2 strikers on the bench. It was a nice change. I know he wasn't on there, but I thought, do you know what? Maybe you can't. It's like a pendulum. It goes one way. You've got so many defensive players to then having so many attacking players. I was surprised when someone pointed out. I did read it, a little light bulb moment did go, and I did realise that it was like, okay, yeah, he's not there actually. That's just maybe a little bit worrying, but at the same time, I wasn't that worried because I don't expect the old guard of West Ham to remain there too long. We also haven't sold many players. People haven't realised this at the minute. Is that we've signed so many players. People are forgetting that we need to sell players as well. Yeah. I don't know when that's going to happen because they seem to be struggling.
Well, that's going to be a problem, I think. It's going to be a problem.
Once you're not getting rid of the players you want to get rid of, then you'll probably see him on the bench.
Well, I think that could be the problem. I don't think we're going to find it easy to sell these players.
No.
I think Tim's probably going to have to work just as hard to get players out as he has to get them in.
That's true.
Because, if you look at the age profile, the wages they're on, it's a tough ask for teams to come in and say, okay, Danny Ings, he's 30, whatever, he's not getting any younger, he's on big wages, we can find something a bit better than that. Same with who else are we trying to get rid of? I think Aguerd, I imagine he's on pretty tidy wages. He's a player we should be able to sell. We can't give Zuma away. I think Souček and Sofel would be willing to sell both, but again, they're not getting any younger.
I personally, this might be an unpopular opinion, but I wouldn't sell Souček. I really wouldn't. I'll tell you the reason why. I know everyone's got this thing that he's the Moyes poster boy. Everyone was annoyed that he lasted the full 90 minutes, right? I'll give him his due. He was an inch. He missed it. He did miss. He's got to take the criticism, but he was an inch away from securing us a point in that game. I have nothing against Souček when he does the job that he's good at, when he's allowed to do the job he's good at. And if we're in a game where in the last 10 minutes we need a goal, and we're playing a system where we're chucking balls into the box from corners, we've got JWP on the thing, bring him on as a sub, as a super sub, a bit like Antonio, right? If you use him in the correct way, he would be very useful to us.
Yeah, I mean, well, to be fair to Souček, I mean, he's very good in both boxes.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah,
and absolutely useless in between them.
Yep.
So yeah, he might be useful to have as a battering ram if you desperately need a goal late on. Just get the ball out wide, get the crosses in. If you've got him and Antonio, or particularly him and Füllkrug on the pitch, they're both good in the air, can carry a threat. I think he can be useful, and I'd be absolutely fine with that. I'm not crying out for him to be sold or anything like that. I just do not want to see him starting games. I really don't. And I think he would actually play better in open play probably if he came on fresh.
Yeah.
With 10 or 15 minutes to go. The game probably wouldn't pass him by as much because the pace would have slowed. I think it would suit him. I think he would actually play well.
Him and Antonio would cause mayhem. If you imagine it, I know that this is almost like a fantasy. If you're against one of the top 6 away from home, for example, and they're used to the way you're playing, everyone tries to almost play it along the floor nowadays. So it's like, everyone knows the way to play. But if you start in the last 10 minutes knocking balls in the air, you've got someone like Souček and Antonio battering the defenders. They ain't going to want to know. They're not going to be able to handle it. They're going to be scared out of their wits. So for me, it's a perfect plan B or plan C, whichever way you want to look at it. But you're right. They're done. They're done out here. There's not, from a technical point of view, they're useless. So in the nicest possible way, they're useless. So, use them for what they're good at.
Yeah. And given that, Lopetegui wants to play a more possession-based game,
so, yeah.
It would be kind of astonishing to see both one or either of those start tomorrow.
The only thing that has been pointed out this week, and I think we're not. I didn't realise it at the time until I watched the YouTube clips. Was Bowen handing Souček the armband? This is my point when people were saying about who's going to be the new captain. Oh, it should be so and so. It should be so and so. We've got no idea, like who the players resonate with. So Zuma apparently is a very, very popular guy in a changing room. Very, very popular. That's why he called him Happy, because he's a happy guy and he brings everyone together. I said, I presume that's why he's given captain in the first place. But to us lot, he's not the guy that should have the armband, and Souček should be playing. But maybe if Bowen's handing the armband is the reason why he's doing it. He's not looking for anyone else to have the armband. He's giving it straight to Souček. So to me, maybe Souček has more about him team-wise than we all know. He doesn't seem like a horrible guy. He seems like quite a nice, positive guy and whatever. So maybe there's something to him, maybe in a way that I think Henderson was made captain for Liverpool in a team that he really didn't look like he suited at all. He was almost like the odd one out. If you're talking technical players, the same thing with England. I think Henderson's a terrible footballer, but there's obviously something he's got. Mentality-wise that resonates with him. So maybe Souček has something, personality-wise that is the reason why managers like him, because to stay on for the full 90 minutes when he hadn't really done much during the game, maybe Lopetegui's seen something in him the same that Moyes did. I don't know. There's something there, because there's a reason why he stayed on the whole game.
Yeah, but I'll tell you what, I'm going to fucking panic if he's starting tomorrow. I'm going to
Same here.
I'm going to like, oh no, I've seen this movie before.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, I really don't want to see that. I'm hoping Lopetegui was able to see what I think the rest of us saw with him. He's good in both boxes, but Christ, I mean, he just can't pass the ball. And I mean, his attempt at a pass that gave away the corner for the Villa's opening goal. I mean, it's basic. It's basic stuff. It's like I feel like I could complete that pass.
Yeah.
He's so gangly and awkward sometimes. And then there's he's way at Everton. The ball goes over, he controls it. It's an absolute screamer. Inside the post, and it's like, Jesus, like, this is the same player who can't pass a ball properly. It's like, and then you can do that. He's in Souček, but hopefully won't see him tomorrow. But as regards formation, obviously there's a lot you can do with this team, even in a flat back four. But I wonder sometimes, I think the dilemma really is kind of the midfield. Is how do you get Paqueta and Kudus playing kind of,
and he's gone. Live TV, people. That's what happens. Right, get your comments in for game tomorrow. What do you all think? You like Tommy? Do you not want to see Souček anywhere near the starting lineup? Like I said, I think that last comment Tommy said about getting Paqueta and Kudus in the middle, starting. I really think Paqueta's got what it takes to be a centre midfielder, or play centrally for us to an extent. Kudus is a main outlet for us, so him going through the middle is vital for me, because he ain't going to go on the right, because Bowen's our right winger. It's just, that's set in stone. Not unless Bowen has a particularly poor season. I think he's our main starter on the right. He's been playing that way for like 5 years, so that's nailed on. I think tomorrow's going to be a new team. You're going to see, going forward, that's going to be the main thing, really, the main team going forward. And there's a reason why we signed all these players. And the main thing that Lopetegui needs to do is get them all in, get them all playing together. And that's what we all want to see. Obviously there's people out there that really respect Moyes and maybe didn't even want him to leave, which is fair enough. We've all got opinions, and that's all what we what we like. That's what makes us fans. That's what makes things interesting. But I wanted him out, and now a new guy's come in, and he said he wants to change things and take us on a different, a new wavelength, new way of playing, new system, trying to be successful again. And if that's what you want to do, and you brought new players in, let's see him. I honestly think tomorrow will be a turning point. It will be the our season starts tomorrow. But I said Palace are a good team as well. So if Paqueta and Kudus are in the midfield, I think not only will be attacking, we'll see some goals, and hopefully we'll start seeing that defence go, so we can score some goals and stop conceding them as well. Because it was a bit disappointing against Villa that they broke through us too easily, and with these new players in, we'll see some improvement. I don't think I can bring up the chat. I don't think I've got the tools to do that, unfortunately. Tommy's got the tools and he's gone off. So it's just me for the moment. Formation-wise, I don't see it changing much, but tomorrow will be an interesting game. They've obviously lost Elise as well. They've lost their first game of the season, so they're going to want to try and get a win themselves as well. If you've got players that can make things happen, like Eze, for example, we need to keep him quiet. So it'd be interesting to see who we pick to keep him quiet, and also Mateta. But they brought on Edouard, I think, pretty early in the season. Was it a half-time sub, or did he come on early in the second half? But he looked dangerous as well. So if we do want to stop him, we've got to try and keep those look quiet. They've got Water in the midfield as well, and that does worry me a little bit because Paqueta loves the yellow card at the minute. So it might be quite an interesting battle if them two get together. See how they make it out. I've got the chat on my phone here at the minute. Here he is. So it's fine.
StreamYard just threw me out. I must have been talking too much shit. StreamYard just threw me out and said no. I had to restart my computer.
Your face went and you kept talking, so I was like listening. You break up a little bit, and then suddenly you went. I went. I'll just answer the question you just asked before you went off. So it's fine. All good.
That's good. I can't remember where I was.
You basically said that we got to try and get Paqueta and Kudus in the middle together in the midfield somehow.
Yes.
And I basically said, well, I said that, but unless Bowen has a bit of a poor season, he'll be the main guy. So Kudus has to fit essentially in there as well.
Yeah.
The Palace guys will be against tomorrow and stuff like that. So
I'm just wondering if, because what we saw really was Rodriguez and Paqueta kind of side by side, but I'm wondering going forward, it's probably going to be Alvarez. I think he's the better player. Can cover. He's more mobile, certainly. I think. I'm just wondering, like, why not do say a 4-1-4-1 in a lot of the game? I know you won't do it every game, but there is a case probably against a lot of teams, a lot of fixtures that we'll have against teams that we're better than, where you can play a 4-1-4-1. You've got your four defenders. You have Alvarez in front, screening the defence. And then ahead of him have Paqueta and Kudus in more advanced roles where they can still get on the ball in midfield. But they can also get forward in and around the edge of the box and cause problems going forward. And you can still have Bowen on the right and Somerville on the left and Fulkrug up top. You still got all your players in. It's just I don't think it's necessary to have two deep-lying midfielders every game.
I think that's the thing nowadays is that you technically do start with two holding midfielders, but one will drop, one will go. So it's important to have a mobile midfielder and then one who will just sit and do the dirty work, if you like.
Yeah. Well, that's the problem. See, we don't have a box-to-box midfielder.
Well,
if you've got Paqueta alongside, say, Alvarez, he's not as mobile, as quick. He's not really a box-to-box player. He's more of an orchestrator. And I think if you had a box-to-box player who had that athleticism, and Onana, for example, then, yeah, you could sit him a bit deeper in beside Alvarez, and he'd still have that athleticism and pace to get up and down the pitch. But Paqueta isn't really that player. So I think we need to see Paqueta more advanced. And I think it would just be in some of the games. Now, obviously, you might not want to do it against City, all right, or at Anfield, or depending on who you're playing. But I think there'd be a lot of games where you could absolutely just have one sitting midfielder, and then have your four across the middle. Like,
it's amazing for me because I can't imagine West Ham being that attacking. To me, to like, I don't know if it's because I've been Moyes to an extent because I'm expecting us not to be that attacking ever. But I would love to. It'd be exciting to see. There's no doubt it could work if it's arranged properly. But I can't.
You've still got 5 defensive players.
I'm not saying against it. I'm all for it. I just can't imagine it. I just can't. I've been so used to us being a defensive team. Almost like, that's almost like having 4 players in one or 5 players in one doing the attacking. And I've never really known West Ham to be like that. And I would love it. I'd welcome it. It'd be brilliant. Yeah. It'd be very exciting. If it's done in the right way, could be a great formation for us. But I'm just not used to it. I'm just I'm open to it. Tommy, I've seen it. I don't know who posted it. I think I might have been. I can't remember. I can't remember now. I can't remember where I saw it now. But I think someone did put. I've seen it on another YouTube video where someone posted either that or a very similar type of formation, and I thought that looks tasty. That looks really tasty. And I'm not saying I'm one of these people that is.
I know they were an amazing team, but you remember at Barcelona where they had Busquets like sitting in front of him. They had Xavi and Iniesta ahead of him. Just something like that. I think it would work for us in a lot of games. And because Paqueta is so dangerous when he gets anywhere near that final third. I mean, his ability to open up a defense, with a pass is incredible. And then also when you think about the driving, powerful runs of Kudus, when he gets a pass, somewhere around that final third and can actually turn and start to run at a defense. I mean, it's terrifying.
Yeah.
And so I think if you can get both of those flawless, I didn't say we're prime Barcelona. Listen, Barcelona, because they played that formation and they were a brilliant team, it doesn't mean no other team can ever play that formation because they're not Barcelona. What are you talking about? It's a formation. It can work for more than one team, amazingly. Jesus Christ. Why do people make stupid comments like that?
I think
Barcelona. Yeah, it's a formation. More than one team can use the formation. We might be playing at home to fucking Ipswich. I'm pretty sure we might be able to manage. Fucking hell. That shit cracks me up. Apparently no one except that Barcelona team's allowed to use that formation or they get beat.
I don't like that.
Go on, sorry, mate. What were you saying?
Can't remember now.
Okay, well, let's turn our attention to tomorrow then. Crystal Palace. I think historically it's a ground where we've done relatively.
I'll let you do this because while you're off, I kind of went on to talking about Palace, so I'll let you crack on with this. But I've done
you've got your ball already.
Yeah, the floor's yours, mate.
I think like you, the hope is that changes will be made. I hope he saw the light. I'd be shocked if Wan-Bissaka doesn't play.
No,
Flawless doesn't agree. He thinks we're going to get absolutely
destroyed. I think he's a bit of a troll personally, but there you go. Could be just me.
I think this guy's trolling, frankly.
Proper Tiggy's been mentioned quite a few times.
Always one, isn't there? Always one.
I mean, fair play. That's his opinion. Look, fair play. That's his opinion. He might not be a troll. That might be a genuine thing. Fair play for their own opinion. But
look, I'm not kicking him out or anything.
No, that's fair.
Yeah, he hasn't said anything out the way. You know what I mean? He hasn't done anything, that would require anyone to get kicked out. It would take something really bad. No, Damien, I'm not blocking him. He hasn't done anything worth getting blocked for. I'm not that thin-skinned. But yeah, I actually think we have a lot of hope going into this, and I have no idea what you said, by the way. So this could be completely different, or the same as what you said, or
I,
similar.
I,
I don't know.
I basically made reference to the fact that Elise has gone, but they're still
Yeah,
dangerous because Eze is a great player. You got Mateta, who is on fire for him, well, especially last season, but
yeah,
he did come off quite early. I can't remember if it was at half time or early in the second half.
yeah.
And
That ball.
Edouard come on for him. Um, they've also got Walton in the middle, who's meant to be one of the next best
Yeah,
sort of Premier League holding midfielders, England regular, etc. So it'd be interesting to see how we cope with him. And then the one thing I didn't mention was Gehi at the back, because he's had a fantastic Euros, and he's could be on the way in the end to Newcastle for 100 million, whatever you want to call it, because they keep rejecting them. So they've got good players and they've got a good manager there. It will be a tasty game if we start a few more players that we signed in the summer, and if we change the way we play. So yeah, it'd be kind of almost a perfect test, I think, for us. It's a perfect test to see where we're at if we start going and playing the way we apparently want to play going forward.
yeah. Listen, Nick, thank you so much, bud, for the donation. That goes straight to the Anton Fund, our charity here on West Ham Network. So the Guinnesses
Living it
will
up.
the Guinnesses will be getting poured somewhere in Scotland. But listen, thanks very much, bud. Appreciate it. Yeah, I I'm optimistic for tomorrow because I do think Lopetegui will change it up. I think Wan-Bissaka will absolutely certainly play. I think Tadibo will come in. I think Fulkrug will start. Also, as you say, it looks like Guehi is on his way to Newcastle. Um, looks like Anderson is on his way out the door as well. Um, also, Jordan Ayew is close to a move. So it's possible none of those will play. If they're all very close to moves, I think none of them will play. And also, Will Hughes apparently is ill. So I'm not sure what team we'll see from Palace. It could be a considerably weakened one. That would be nice. But however, if Gahey plays, if Anderson plays, if Ayew plays, then yeah, there'll be a very very tough opponent. But as far as I'm aware, Anderson won't. I don't know how close Gahey is. Apparently, that's getting closer and closer. So I think Anderson will not play. He's almost certainly on his way. I think Jordan Ayew was almost certainly on his way.
Leicester, is it?
Leicester, yeah. Jordan Ayew is going to Leicester. So I don't think either one of those will play. And possibly Gahey. And like I said, Will Hughes is sick. He's got some bug. So I think we will likely be playing a very weakened. And like I say, the loss of Elise is huge. So I'm quite optimistic for tomorrow. I think Lopetegui will do the right thing, and Palace will be considerably weakened. And I think we'll see a better performance tomorrow, actually. And I'm always kind of feel okay about away at Palace. You know, in general in the Premier League, we've tended to do well at Palace. It hasn't been a graveyard for us by any means. We've tended to be kind of a tough opponent for them there, with the exception, you know, of was it last year hammering?
5-2.
Yeah, we got hammered there last season, didn't we?
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, but other than that, I think we've done quite well there. So I'm quite optimistic tomorrow. I don't know if you've nailed your colours to the mast yet,
No, not quite.
but
I
I'm
think, I
gonna.
think
Oh, this is how I do it. I'm gonna have to press you on it. So I
yeah.
want your prediction for tomorrow. What do you think is going to happen?
I think if Gehi and Anderson had been there, or Elise as well, I'd have probably gone for an optimistic draw. But considering they're a bit here and there with the players at the minute, I'd like to say a 3-2 win, because I think someone was mentioned to me at work in a week that we've always, the whole fixtures, I think the last time one team didn't score in this fixture was when we beat them 3-0, I think, at home. Payet had just been sold to Marseille. So it's been a while. We've always had a back and forth. There's always been both teams to score. So I think it'd be a high scoring game. And if we do bring in the players that we brought in, we play the way we apparently want to play going forward, then we're going to score some goals. They're going to score some goals. So I'm going to say an optimistic 3-2. I think that Kudus will get a goal, and then maybe a penalty or something. But yeah, I'm going to say now. I would say a 2-2 draw, but I think we need to win just to get the season up and started. And if they're faltering a little bit players wise, then we could take advantage of that. So I'm going to go for a 3-2 win.
Yeah, I think we're going to win as well, and I think actually it'll be a little more comfortable. I think Palace are a little bit up in the air at the moment. They're going to be scrambling to get some players in. As I just saw in the chat there, Anderson is gone. He signed for Fulham today.
Oh yeah.
Ayew was out the door. He won't play. He's going to Leicester, and like I say, Guehi may not play either, which would be a huge blow for them. So I actually think we're going to have a better first 11 on the pitch, and I think we'll play better tomorrow, and I think we'll score goals, and I think we'll be quite solid defensively. I expect Wan-Bissaka to be there, and I think he's going to be as solid as ever. So I'm not sure how much of a threat they're going to carry up top, actually. I think we're going to beat them 3-1. I think it will be a better performance against a weakened side that are. So I'm optimistic. I think we'll get our season up and running tomorrow. I really hope so. We need to see the changes, and I think Lopetegui will do that. He seems the type. He hooked off Paqueta and Bowen.
Yeah.
No qualms about it. So, and he did look really angry.
Yeah.
Like after that Villa game, he was throwing the water bottle on the ground, and he was. So I think he's going to put some of those new players in. So yeah, I think 3-1 West Ham, a season up and running. I think we'll very quickly, hopefully, put the Villa game behind us. So yeah, I'm optimistic, and hopefully, get those 3 points, get the season going. But yeah, I Flawless is still at it. He loves now he hasn't done anything to get himself thrown out or anything, but I think some of the people in the chat just need to take him with a bit more of a pinch of salt. Damien definitely don't take the bait, Damo. Don't take the bait.
Punch is being thrown for sure.
Yeah, he's all right. He'll be fine. But listen, we're going to leave it at that. Listen, as always, thanks to everyone in the chat for joining, even you, Flawless shitbag. Thanks to you, Luke. Pleasure to you as always, and we'll get you on again. Obviously, you'll be a regular feature this season. Is there anywhere you want to plug yourself that you're doing stuff? You have a column?
Oh, hold on. My stepson come down, and he's got a YouTube channel. He's big in. He's a kid. They're obviously, I mean, we haven't got the millions of subscribers that the ones he likes, and I have to tell him, no, we've still got a lot for what we are. We're doing well, but he's written down what his YouTube channel is called, and I can't read his writing. So at the minute, I can't plug him. I can't, and I don't really agree with him having his own YouTube channel anyway. I'm a bit strict like that, I'm a bit old-fashioned, let's say. So I should really be, encouraging people to subscribe to him. But take Prime, I think it's something to do with Prime Kitchen's Prime these days. So that's what.
Want to just plug your OnlyFans while you're here?
Well, I wish I had one. I wish I had the confidence to have one. Be no more financial distraught for me to be right there. So yeah. So I don't know. Yeah, I've told him that I've given him a word that that's what he's written it down for me. I can't even. It's mirrored on there. So
you don't know what his channel's called?
No, not really. I'm going to try and search it, but I don't want to keep going. It's not a big thing, so just forget I mentioned anything. But I've done it. I've technically said that go and subscribe to him. So yeah, that's my job done. But feel free not to do it. It's fine.
No worries, mate.
I'm a horrible stepdad now, but there you go.
Well, look, we'll have you back on soon, and you can get all your ducks in a row for next time.
It's fine. Yeah, no worries.
Give the poor lad a proper plug.
Yeah, bless him.
All right, cheers, mate. Thanks to everyone who watched. Leave your comments as well, and I'll read them. I do read them, and I'll get back to you. And until next week, as always, come on, you are.